Welcome to
Yeah, moths everywhere.
welcome to the middle of day two of or day three, I guess, of the Onyx Path Virtual Convention 2026. My name is Dixie Cochran. My pronouns are she, her. I do all kinds of things over here at Onyx Path, but I'm not the person you probably want to hear from today because we have all kinds of news and information happening. So, Rich, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rich Thomas, founder and creative director of Onyx Path Publishing, which, is that.
All right, Eddie.
Eddie Webb, my pronouns are he, him, and I am one of the developers on Curseborne Covenant.
Matthew.
Matthew Dawkins, he, him, also a co-developer of Curseborne Covenant.
And of course, last but not ever least, Danielle.
Hi, I'm Dee. I'm not a developer consultant on Curseborne Covenant.
And yeah, we're here to talk all things Curseborne that we announced obviously yesterday at our What's Up with Onyx Path panel. Rich, do you want to start us off with some overview information?
Overview information, yes. Curseborne Covenant, and it is singular, by the way, is the next tier, entanglement tier, but it's far, far more than just the next level of your particular abilities. This is where we start to delve into what is our accursed society like, what kind of political and organizational things occur between families and lineages, and how does that affect life in the darkness of the Curseborne world. And so I think it is something that a lot of people have been looking for. Again, Curseborne itself gives you the basis, gets you started, allows you to see the view from the streets, and now we're moving up into everything from fancy penthouses to underground hidden layers and sacrificial areas and all that stuff. And that is what we've been wanting to do for from the beginning of doing Curseborne, but we realized that we really had to present something that was since it's a new game, a new world. It's really important to give it to people in a way that they can digest and have fun with to begin with at one level, and then start widening it up. And this is where you start to see that happening. So very exciting. This is all part of the the great Curseborne plan, and now we get to show it to folks sometime later this year. And I will now allow the people who actually are doing the heavy lifting on this to start talking about it.
Well, that's the writers, and sadly they couldn't be with us today. But in lieu of them, there's Eddie, Danielle, and myself. No, we've had a lot of fun developing this one, and compared to the, I guess you could even say, the hellacious amount of planning that went into the Curseborne core book, Covenant has proved to be a pretty straightforward idea for us. We knew what we were going for when we built the Curseborne core book. We knew where we wanted to go from there, and that is Curseborne Covenant. We introduce conspiracies that your characters can now join. These are your broader societies that exist in the world of the accursed, the movers, the shakers, the puppeteers pulling the threads in various cities, realms, liminalities, outsides as well, to a degree. These will have a knock-on effect to the kinds of powers you have access to, the kinds of allegiances you might form, the kind of covenants you might form, because a covenant is a pact, and Curseborne is, after all, a game all about forging pacts that you have ultimately come to regret or take advantage of if you're canny enough. So that is where the covenant comes from in Curseborne Covenant. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dixie.
I was going to say, so if the core book is more about family politics, this one's more about politics, is what I'm getting. More about like interlineage or intercity, that kind of thing.
We definitely open it up to that, though one of the aspects of advancement, because this also covers the increase in power, the next levels of your entanglement, is whether you invest even more tightly into your family, whether you throw your allegiance over to a wider conspiracy, whether you try to divorce yourself from that society entirely. We've got lots of different branching routes characters can take. That doesn't mean they will automatically clash for being in the same crew. It just means you will have a different array of accesses, of powers, of contacts, and so forth. So yeah, it's all coming together very, very nicely indeed.
Yeah, I think if you're used to like, we're all jockeying for positions, stuff like that, that's the kind of play you enjoy, you're going to be able to do that. If you want to build your crew up, even I know these people, we can get this going on for us, and you can talk to those people, we can get that going on, and keep your crew your focus. That's a way to play absolutely perfectly well. It's really dependent on what you want to do at the table. But backstabbing and all that stuff and manipulating and all that fun nastiness is definitely part of it.
Very cool.
And I also want to kind of talk about the fact that that kind of political backstabbing stuff is very much an opt-in idea, right? There are going to be crews who don't want to join a conspiracy, and that's okay. That's fine. But that doesn't mean you're immune from what other conspiracies are doing around you. So there is very much kind of a push and pull. As you grow in power, you're going to realize that you need friends to help you out, and more friends than perhaps just your immediate crew. So the idea is that there's a strong incentive to join, but you're not required to. If you want to stick it out and hold your own, you absolutely can. That's a viable play about that. And also, if you want to be the kind of outside agitators that try to overthrow some of the more corrupt conspiracies, again, you can absolutely do that. So we haven't completely lost the kind of punk punching up vibe. If that's really what you want to look for, that's still absolutely there. But with that comes more dangers, more problems, more issues as you grow in entanglement.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, we've worked on lots of games where there are, I guess, sects, covenants, groups that may ostensibly appear more antagonistic than others. And sometimes those will be restricted from play in various game editions. We aren't interested in doing that. We want all of the conspiracies in Curseborne to be playable, even though some are undoubtedly, just as the families are undoubtedly more hostile to others than others. So you can still punch up and punch out with your conspiracy choice, or if you want to play an heir, one of everyone's favorite families for being a complete dick in Curseborne. I mean, they're kind of built that way, or the Sphinx are as well. And you want to belong to a conspiracy that is all about manipulating other people, draining other people of all of their wealth, their resources, their lives, to make yourself stronger and, in your mind, better. You are completely free to do that, and the system is there in place to allow it. So whether you're playing good, bad, or somewhere in between, there's certainly no moral judgments from us. We're just trying to provide a colorful world that exists in Curseborne.
So for those watching, can you maybe define conspiracy? Maybe give us an example or two? Because that would be, I think, helpful.
Sure. Actually, I'll give you three because I'm being benevolent and nice.
3 examples.
Yes. So a conspiracy ultimately is a group of people beyond a family and beyond a crew who are working together for a common goal. That is a kind of base level definition of a conspiracy. Most conspiracies tend to be multi-lineage, but that's not exclusively true. There are some that are exclusive to one lineage but are multi-family. So by default, they're generally multi-family, but they can be multi-lineage or not, depending on the goals of the conspiracy. So 3 examples kind of give you an idea of the breadth of them. We have the Association of Modern Scriveners. Masquerading as a worldwide guild of professional transcribers, writers, court reporters, and similar professions, the Association of Modern Scriveners use that public front to hide their true intent, the research and understanding of curses in every form they take. Their methodical research has laid the front of curse binding wide open to them. There's also Dynast AI. To the mundane world, Dynast AI is another successful AI corporation, but to the accursed, they offer so much more, weaponizing AI to both accelerate and mitigate damnation. They recruit ambitious families using agentic systems to quote-unquote speedrun curses and offload unwanted consequences to digital constructs. By fusing modern technology with ancient curses, they believe they've cracked the code to unlimited power. Spoiler, they haven't. And then finally, there's the Fractured Minute. History is rife with accursed families who came and went, their time in the world defined, dictated by their actions. For some, that end came at the hand of the Fractured Minute. Deemed too dangerous or vile to survive, the conspiracy banishes its targets to its very own epochs, imprisoning them in a temporal prison of their own design. So you can see there's a wide variety of conspiracy goals, and that's just a slice. We have over 15 or so. We're still not developing, but at least 15 conspiracies available. So you have lots of options.
I feel like somebody wrote the AI one just so people could overthrow it, because I feel like nobody likes that one.
I mean, it's funny. We mentioned the Fractured Minute. We spoke about Seattle, City of Curses yesterday. We have a prominent character who is part of the Fractured Minute in that book. So we are already starting to seed the conspiracies from Curseborne Covenant into other books. Even though Seattle City of Curses is, I would say, explicitly a Curseborne core book expansion, you will be able to find enough there to thread it into Curseborne Covenant when you reach that level of play.
Very cool. So what other new things are we introducing in this book? We have more families, more...
Well, I would love for Danielle to chime in, because I know Danielle has been heavily consulting on the spells, advanced spells, which are getting particularly punchy in this level of play.
Sure, yeah. I think the new things you'll see in Curseborne Covenant about first, there's going to be way more rituals. Conspiracies develop rituals, and so there's a lot of conspiracy specific rituals that are way more like higher entanglement requirements and more powerful because of that. And then the thing that we're doing with higher level spells is that we've often talked about how the higher entanglement you have, the more powerful you get. But it's not just you get new access to new powerful spells. Instead, everything you do is cheaper, faster, easier, and more powerful. So the way that works is that there are what we call advanced spells, and those advanced spells are literally your base foundation spells that are now advanced. And when you have the advanced version of the spell, you have the base version of the spell plus a couple of its advances wrapped into a single casting, which is generally cheaper than it is cheaper, not generally. It is cheaper than if you were to cast that spell as a foundation spell with those advances attached to it. You immediately learn them. If you didn't know, like if you had the spell but didn't have those advances purchased on your character sheet and you purchase this advanced spell, you just get those because they're wrapped into the base spell. You don't have to buy them separately or anything like that. And then those have their own advances, making it even more powerful. So you kind of take your foundation spell and wrap it into a easier, faster casting of it and some of its most sensible advances that you would probably want to use often. And then you have even more advances that make it even more powerful. So if you have fully leaned into a spell, especially as a family that gets a discount on a spell's advances, these advanced versions now count for that. So it also allows your motifs to scale with you as you get more powerful in your entanglement. So that's kind of the big mechanical extra that we're doing. Also curse binding. Curse binding was just kind of like a little one-off thing. You could like throw a curse bind on somebody with like I think you might get like a cursed, condition. And now it is this very specific kind of build your own curse binding thing where you have tricks and you have counter tricks and you have the ability to manipulate your spells and put an actual like whammy on someone using your curse dice successes, because you're probably going to be holding a lot more curse dice as a higher entanglement individual. You're going to be bleeding them less. So now the way to use those is to have more successes on them, hits on them, and then take those hits and spend them on tricks to kind of fuck up everyone around you while you're doing the curses themselves. So
I think we also had a couple of examples of rituals we wanted to talk about.
yeah, so there's 2 rituals that we have to display for you. So the first one is Malfeance. The ritualist constructs a moment. Sorry, I can't read.
It's also still early for you.
It is. An effigy or doll made to resemble a person that incorporates physical material from the target, such as hair, blood, or fingernail clippings. Then you place this representation of the victim in a circle of runes and speak an incantation to bind the two. You roll it with empathy or esoterica, and by holding the moment and bleeding 1 curse die, the lead ritualist can use an esoteric action to lay a curse binding on the target with sympathy, regardless of location. So principles of sympathy is a thing that you can essentially curse somebody based on, like, I know them. Normally you would need to have their location and stuff, but this allows you to do those curse bindings from anywhere. The victim's bond with the mama is permanent unless broken by an appropriate ritual or the mama itself is destroyed. So it's essentially voodoo. I poke you with a pen and you get poked, but worse.
Long distance curse binding.
Yeah. And then the second one we have is Weigh the Heart. The ritualist photographs the target. Digital cameras are fine, but images must be printed to photo paper and all electronic copies deleted before the second step of this ritual. The ritualist then examines the photograph for several minutes while standing or sitting on a scale. This second step must begin no more than 7 days after taking the photograph, so the person still looks the same. Roll empathy or esoterica. The ritualist learns how frequently the target has performed a curse binding in the last year. This is a seldom and exact count unless the number is 0, but it does reveal trends and patterns in frequency and choice of tricks. So it lets you get an idea of an opponent, or maybe somebody. It kind of gives you information also on somebody who, are they kind of new to this thing? Are they capable of doing curse bindings? What kind of curse bindings do they do? So it's a little bit of like a size up of an opponent or a target.
Very cool.
Yeah. Dixie,
Oops, I was muted. Yep. No, Zoom yells at you immediately. It's like, duh. Yeah, so we are getting a lot of questions. So if we have a couple more points you want to go through, maybe we can do some questions and then come back to talking some more, figure out what's going on here. I know that we are introducing some new families.
Yeah, we have some Fae-aligned families.
People are going to be so excited. We've been talking about
aligned.
the Fae since we
Aligned.
opened this up.
Adjacent, maybe Fae adjacent.
Fae adjacent.
Right.
Well, they certainly feel like they're aligned to the Fae, but who can say really with such strange
It's
entities?
definitely a one-way direction, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but it plays again into that idea that we're not trying to prescribe the way you play. If you want to play an accursed of a family that is essentially a disruptor, a saboteur, someone who wishes to wreck a cursed society, take power from the traditional conspiracies that hold on to it, playing a member of a Fae-aligned family is not a bad shout. It doesn't mean you're a good person because you're essentially making a covenant with, if not a devil, something probably far worse, far less explicable. But there are going to be a handful of new families in that regard that will each fit into different lineages. So you will have a completely different way of approaching the world of Curseborne through these new families, who will, of course, all have their own motifs and inheritance and so forth. So completely playable alongside the material in the Curseborne core book and all of the families we've introduced in the Player's Guide and Seattle City of Curses as well.
Awesome. While we're talking about this and we're announcing everything, do we want to show off the new logo?
Travis, are you there?
Yes.
We'll soon find out, won't we?
Yeah, we'll have no idea because it'll be on the stream and we won't see it until after it goes. Apparently, it's up.
Woohoo!
Ooh, Curseborne Covenant. Look at it. It's pretty.
It is pretty, isn't it?
I actually really
That's
like
the
it.
first time I've seen it.
Same. Like a lot of us are seeing this for the first time right now, which is cool. That's one of the fun distinctions about art direction process versus writing and developing process. That often,
Also coming up on the deadline for the convention process.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that's also a part.
yeah. We
Please
also
do.
got some
Yeah,
art we're gonna be sharing.
Just a couple. Just don't spill all the beans.
And of course, once again, we're on a delay seeing the stream, so we have to wait until we can see it to talk about it. Ooh.
Things are getting quite horrific, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot more horrific than they were in Baseline Curseborne, I would say. Look at that big old horrifying worm thing. I love him.
Try writing that off as some AI manipulated video on YouTube.
He's just a hungry little boy. He just wants
I'm
to
sure
suck
that's
out
what it
your
is.
soul.
Yeah, I'm sure that
Just being himself.
I'm sure
just
that
a hungry little
hungry.
guy.
Goat Man cult is
Hungry.
also doing great. I'm sure they're doing great.
I would love to play a game or tell a story now where that happens in the street and there's someone at the end of it who just still goes "Pfft, AI," walks up, people screaming, being torn to shreds.
Honest to goodness, like
The new dude.
I
is
do that
insane.
daily. Yeah, like, what's that? Yeah, that's probably it. All
Yeah,
right.
we had in a game I was playing recently, we had an NPC who was very much doing that, going like, it's smoke and mirrors, it's all illusions, and we're like, that vampire just killed a man, and he's like, no,
Please.
dumb.
There's no such thing.
Well, guess what? He ended up dying to vampires because he didn't believe us. So, oh well.
Yeah.
Often the
Good.
case.
But yeah, do we want to
Good.
take a few questions, or are there any more points y'all want to cover? before
My
we start
question is: the
talking?
moth still here? Yes.
The moths
course.
never leave.
They were all around our heads. That's why we were a little late to the panel.
And remember, our characters are the moths in these games.
Yep.
You know, we are metamorphosizing. The curses change us.
I literally got a moth tattoo, so if the moth isn't here anymore, I'm going to be real upset.
We actually
You
got
get-
Your long-term investment
A giant
know.
carnivorous worm now is the logo. for
wrapped
Curseborne
around
Covenant.
the moth. Yeah.
yeah, you have to get that exact goat man.
Curse you!
Oh no, you can do it from a distance now. Crap. All right, so we've had a bunch of questions since this started. We're only 25 minutes in, but we'll go ahead and answer a few of these to keep us going. And if you have more questions, please keep putting them in the chat. We can answer questions until the end of this panel. So the first question is, do we get next tier antagonists?
Why would you not?
Of course.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that then, Rich.
Wow.
Sometimes.
No,
Yes. The next tier, you're gonna have to fight something.
the adversaries still conform to the templates we introduced in the core book, but that doesn't mean we haven't expanded those existing templates. And some of the adversaries in Curseborne Covenant include family heads, including the family head of the Sphinx, the family head of the Nephilim. There's probably more, but those are the ones that come to mind. And what that illustrates is that not all family heads are created equal, because some will be at a power level even higher than the ones we're introducing here. So it illustrates also that some of these are current family heads. While there may be some families that are particularly ancient in Curseborne that have got a family head that's been extant all the way from year dot, others are regularly chopping through new CEOs and busting them down because they're constantly scrabbling for power. There's a lot of new critters, and as the illustrations imply, some of them are particularly horrifying, and will, I think, amp up the terror aspect of Curseborne with Curseborne Covenant.
So you did just say that they use the same templates as the ones in core, but they've been expanded?
They do indeed, yes. So there's new qualities, new dread powers. The thing is, and so this is the, I guess, PSA moment, and it goes to any potential designers who want to create their own adversaries. We have a system for creating new adversaries. Build your own monsters in this book too. It's never, even when it's tempting, overload your adversaries with dozens of powers. There is absolutely no point to it. And there's a simple system reason for it. Combats, or even a social and influence action in Curseborne, rarely lasts longer than 3 rounds, maybe 5. But if you start going longer than that, you're probably going to be pushing everyone's patience. It's the same in any game. So giving an adversary like 20 powers, just say, look at how powerful this one is sort of counterintuitive. Or the menu is already there, it exists in the book. It's easier to give them special rules. It makes more sense to say, this adversary cannot be beaten unless you do this, this, and this. So essentially build a framework or a code into it rather than just having it based on injuries, things like that. And that's what we've done with Curseborne Covenant, so that they're not just beefed up numerically. They are more like puzzle boxes that you've got to solve if you want to beat them.
I know we talked about this a little bit, but let's get an explicit definition down. Somebody asked, why exactly is it called Covenant? And somebody else asked, is Covenant an extra layer of curse? So let's just define Covenant, because we defined conspiracy pretty well. But let's define Covenant real quick.
Do you want to handle that, Eddie?
Yeah. So your covenant is the juice you put into a conspiracy, right? What you get out of a conspiracy is what you put into it. And so when you make a covenant with a conspiracy, you're saying, yes, I support your aims, support your goals, and my fate on some level is linked to everything else going on. Yeah, covenant is not an extra layer of curse. Again, it's an opt-in thing. Some people choose not to create a covenant. They decide to stay outside of it. But again, there's a give and take to that. You don't have people to support you. You don't have people who are willing to help you out. But on the flip side, you're not beholden to throwing people into a weird time prison if you don't want to. So I mean, swings and roundabouts, as it were. Yeah, so the idea is that, and also with the Covenant, allows you access to things like being able to do conspiracy-specific rituals. So there's other kind of elements that come along with that. Yeah, it's more of a. We felt that the Covenant, the act of giving a Covenant, was kind of the good summation of how this whole level of play changes. And I'm really sorry. There's like loads of noise outside. I apologize for that.
I'm not hearing anything.
We're not hearing any of it.
Oh, good, great, fantastic. We felt like the act of pledging a covenant is a great way to kind of represent what this whole level of play is all about. So yes, there are conspiracies, there are things going on, but it's the choose of, I'm now pledging myself to someone outside of my crew.
Yeah, it's in the case of, is there an additional layer of curse? Yes, in the sense that you unlock additional rituals. You are, as Eddie puts it, pledging yourself. The Covenant is a pledge. It is a pact. It is a deal. You are signing maybe your soul, something, over to a conspiracy. It could be blood. Right. It could be a sacrifice of someone you love or someone you've never met, like in that Richard Matheson book. But there's the idea that you are giving something up to join a conspiracy. That is the Covenant. And so, yes, you gain greater power as a result of it, as is often the way in these tales, but there comes a cost. And the mechanism that illustrates that when you reach this level of an entanglement is essentially you get to choose one of 3 edges, which as of now, and the names may change, we have the family ties edge, a black sheep edge, and an apophenian edge. These all relate to whether you are essentially doubling down, ultra investing in your family, whether you're giving up your family and joining a new one, because you can do that at this level of play, or whether you are throwing yourself all in on the conspiracy side of things. By doing that, it essentially unlocks a new raft of abilities for your characters. You've got this 3-way split characters can go, and that mechanically represents the point where your character steps up to this level of entanglement.
Very cool. Somebody asked, are these conspiracies global?
Somewhere.
They're global in Curseborne Covenant because we want to advertise that you can play these in your game no matter where you are. I have no doubt that as the setting gets fleshed out and we start introducing more cities or more books that cover the world, we may be able to say, well, this conspiracy has particular presence here or has been driven out of there. Right now, the point is to make them player-facing, which is showing what you can do with them rather than saying what you can't by saying this conspiracy is only in Munich. And
I think it's better to say rather than saying all the conspiracies are global, it's better to say none of them are explicitly regional.
No, they're all accessible.
Yeah, that's a lot of how we talked about the lineages. We were talking in yesterday's Seattle panel. Like some of them aren't as much there, but you can change anything in your game. Like you can put them where you want to. All right, cool. We already revealed 3 of the conspiracies. We don't have to answer that question. Someone said, "One of my players is a musician trying to make it big. Is there a conspiracy controlling media?"
Media conspiracy. I don't.
A single one? A single conspiracy?
There are a lot who want to control the flow of information.
Right.
So media in that regard, though, you know what? I'm going to actually point you to a family in Seattle, City of Curses, which we didn't speak about in yesterday's panel. So there you go. There's something for everyone in this panel. We have the Byrons, who are a new outcast family in Seattle, who, at their most extreme end, are essentially music and arts in living form. They have basically taken human shape. They are muses in that sense. So we have a brand new family coming up in Seattle that will hopefully scratch that itch.
This is a question that I think has had a much bigger answer than the person might think, which is, are there any fun mechanical tidbits that set Covenant apart from the core?
So many.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's a lot of mechanical.
I think you've touched on a bunch of them.
I touched on a bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah. But like, I'm saying I wouldn't call them tidbits. I would call them, mechanics.
One thing that Matthew kind of referenced to that maybe talk about a little bit more is when you go from Entanglement 4 to Entanglement 5, you get a new kind of tweak option, which is that you could do, you can either flip your major and minor, if you're flip your major or minor path between your family or your lineage. Like you may decide that you're not as devoted to your family as you used to be. Now you're more focused on your lineage, or vice versa. You're going more all in your family. Or you can switch your family lineage. Or if you're using the player's guide, you can even go to an orphan path if you want to. So it's because you're moving to a new level of conspiracy, you can decide if you want to change your focus a little bit more as you get into this new level of power. And that's something that we've not done in any of the story path games before. So it's a really new concept.
Cool. We've been asked, are there plans for brand new lineages as opposed to families?
They're always on our
Not right
mind, but not right now. Not in Curseborne Covenant. There are ideas that we have, and we do read all of your comments and thoughts about this sort of thing, but not quite yet.
It's also probably self-explanatory, but somebody did ask if there was explicit guidance for moving from one tier to another.
Yeah, well, we spoke about that, where you basically choose whether you are going to throw yourself into a conspiracy or not.
Yeah, but we do have like a actual, like, when you go to when you go to Entanglement 5, there's a section where here's the steps you go through. So yeah, it's going to be very explicit.
Yeah.
Are the Fae/Outsiders involved in any of the conspiracies?
Oh, would
Maybe.
we reveal that? Yeah.
I don't think we would reveal that. That's
Wait, what was the question again? Are there any? What was that word? I don't
know what they are.
I don't know
know.
what that is.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Some of that word, yeah.
Oh no, is our stream
fear-
cursed again, just like it was a couple of years ago?
So weird.
What I love about that idea is if you decide you want to play a character in one of the Fae-aligned families introduced in this book, you can easily, well, maybe not easily, but you can make efforts to redirect your conspiracy to serve Fae or an outsider or some eldritch entity.
Your idea of what the Fae want. Yeah.
Exactly. You may have never
If they even
spoken to this creature, these creatures, whatever they happen to be, but you may have an interpretation of their will, at which point you are maybe focusing your conspiracy's efforts to serve them. So yeah, they have influence as much as the accursed apply it.
Cool. Are there plans on this level to write rules for turning someone into an accursed? I assume they mean like an SGC or.
I think they're thinking like the embrace or bringing
Yeah.
someone in, and that's not at this level yet.
Okay, cool. Do you provide a structure for diagramming a conspiracy to make the story guides, I'm going to change that, job a bit easier?
I don't think we've got anything about diagramming it, but that's something we'll review in development. We like a nice flow chart, and if we have a place where we can fit it in, it's a very good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are there any conspiracies that are written explicitly as antagonists? We mentioned the AI bros. Come on.
They're not even the worst
you
ones.
can play them. Right.
Yeah, you can play
Matthew
any.
also mentioned not making something so that people couldn't play.
No, that's the thing. There are adversarial conspiracies in the sense that they may be morally objectionable. Their practices, their aims, their objectives, but they're not restricted from play. You can play any of these bastards.
Right, and okay, good.
Well, I was going to dig it a little bit because that's something I learned way back when we were working on things like World Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness. Is that as soon as you say this is story guide only, someone will always want to play it, right?
Yeah.
And that was something that we knew going into this. It's like we never wanted to do that on playroll. That said, one of the themes that even in the core Curseborne rulebook that I think sometimes gets lost in discussion about the game is that you don't have to like the people you work with, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could be mad at your mom and dad and your family and want to rebel against them. That is absolutely and intentionally part of the game. You could be forced or have to work with a conspiracy to get your agenda done and not be happy with the conspiracy because we all work at jobs that we hate and don't like the people we work with. So you don't have to be in lockstep alignment with the goals of the groups you're a part of in order to be a part of them. And that's intentional and a design conceit that we worked at from day one. So
it's true. Eddie hates all of us.
It's true.
And
I mean,
he perseveres. That's his sacrifice.
Because London's a very expensive place to live.
Yeah. That's how he regains.
You choose to work in role-playing games, huh? No.
I own it all. It's fine.
This is a question from me, actually, which is just that because you were talking about joining a conspiracy that you might not agree with everybody, do you think that a valid story would be that you're trying to change the conspiracy, make it better? Like how you're trying to change your family and change the world and make it better? And that's always been a theme here.
I mean, if we want to take real-world conspiracies for a moment in the way of big organizations, whether they exist or not, they're often cellular. They very rarely have a central control. They don't often have a single mastermind in control. So yeah, the Washington, D.C. version of a conspiracy may be very different to the Seattle version, to the Chicago version, to the London version. So the players have agency. We want the accursed to have agency. That doesn't mean in your particular city or rural territory, wherever it is you happen to be, even a liminality that your conspiracy is present. There isn't someone bigger and badder than you. But that is the inbuilt tension of the game. You may wish to undermine that person, bring them down, and redirect the resources, the influence, the contacts that your conspiracy has to do something that better suits you, whether that's selfishly or benevolently. So, yeah, you can absolutely redirect a conspiracy's effort. It would take some doing to manage it on an international level, but at a local level, definitely possible.
Sure, I could totally see a story where you sign up for your branch of the conspiracy locally, and eventually get your local branch to kind of go rogue, and then you have to deal with the consequences of other members of the conspiracy coming down and dealing with you, and maybe cutting you off from your rituals as a result. I mean, like again, the point is that these are all flexible. These are not lockstep organizations that have been mandated from a core rule book that you must follow blindingly. They're meant to be flexible and fluid and adjustable at the table, but while still presenting a cohesive backgrounds and continuity, so that way people who pick up Curseborne games will recognize them all as connecting together. But then once they hit your table, we expect them to grow and change beyond that point.
Yeah, these are, to use the term we often use internally, the splats in Curseborne Covenant, the conspiracies. So you will see illustrated how characters within this conspiracy might look. You will have the full write-up of how they might act, how they comport themselves across various territories in the world. And something Rich said to us very early on in the design of Curseborne Covenant was, sorry, Rich, to place this on you, I know you're waiting, is this is essentially city level. You know, if Curseborne core is street level, is your block or your region of a city, this is the city, and it might go wider than that. Certainly, as the game goes on, it's going to get even wider than that. But now you're going to start thinking about how things are affecting people all the way on the other side of your city. You're going to think about how the accursed are operating just outside of your vision, because their actions will affect your characters too, now that you're part of a conspiracy.
Cool. We have been asked, do we have a timeline on Covenant yet, as far as I'm assuming the book's production?
Ideally, we're going to aim for having a crowdfunder in October.
There you go.
But
and once again, he said ideally.
Yeah.
And aim for.
I can have ideals. Richard, ripe for a conspiracy.
Are you expected to have everyone in the crew be in the same conspiracy?
No.
Oh.
No. There are some conspiracies that won't play nicely together. I think that's fair to say, but none of them are explicitly at war. And again, I go back to the family relationships in Curseborne core rulebook. On the face of it, to take the Primal as an example, the Sphinx and the Raptors and the Hides, or no, specifically the Raptors and the Hides, are kind of jockeying for position as the top dog, the dominant primal family. The Raptors have the legacy, the Hides are new. And so the idea, if you're playing into that element of the lore, whether you'd want them in the same crew, you can play it up as a plot point, or you can ignore it entirely. Some conspiracies are going to have wildly divergent ambitions, but your characters are individuals. And most individuals can set aside certain foibles or bring it up as part of their character's agenda, their aspirations, try and convince someone to do something else, that kind of thing.
I'm just going to say this because it's nice. Not a question, but someone said, I just want to say I've been really enjoying Curseborne. It had big shoes to fill. I think it's been filling them admirably thus far. And I thought you should all hear
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
That's nice. Are there rules for ruling a conspiracy?
There's no
Not yet.
rules for
maybe.
ruling a conspiracy as yet. There might be at some point. I imagine it'll be a hell of a lot of work, not for the player, but for the poor character who's in charge of a conspiracy.
That's all you're doing now.
Yeah, great fun. Now you've got 150 conspiracy theorists reporting.
Yeah, I don't think any of the well, not any of them, but a lot of the conspiracies don't really have full, like, one person puppeting the strings. They have everybody kind of, the reason they are a conspiracy is because everybody's feeding into it.
Right.
Kind of an equal amount of energy and getting out of it an equal amount of energy. And nobody is really dictating. No one person, like, somebody might influence the way it's going. Other people might influence the way it's going next time, but you're all, it's just like if you think about an online conspiracy or something like that, where everybody gets together and kind of comes up with these, like, oh, I read this and then I read this and what does this mean? And they're trying to figure it out together. And one person may be directing the conversation, but everybody's just as invested. And so that one person, if they try to be like, well, now everybody needs to go to this, if they don't agree, they're not going to do it. Right?
Yeah,
Everybody's an individual in that moment.
And I think that's something we've illustrated in Curseborne Covenant, is some conspiracies have formed in that way when a lot of people with a similar mindset get together and egg each other on until they finally miss the point of why they came together in the first place. And now they're an out-of-control boulder of fire that is sweeping through a
Quit
city.
talking about American politics.
Others have come together and their views have hardened, they have become regimented, and that can be even more scary than the out of control blaze. So you've got different stories for each conspiracy.
Yeah, and there can be figureheads and some and actual beings with powers who are allied to make this thing work the way that they want to. I mean, there's such a variety of conspiracies. You can't really say that there's one thing to do.
Yeah, one size does not fit all.
A great example of conspiracy, it's a bit of a nerdy example, but it actually works really well for this, is about 15 years ago, Marvel had a concept called the Illuminati, Marvel Comics, which was Tony Stark, Captain America, Mr. Fantastic, Namor, Professor X, had started collaborating and said, hey, we all have separate problems we're seeing. We need to start working together to make sure we're coordinating our efforts so we don't cause issues. And then the splits in ideology in that group led to the Marvel Civil War event and led to consequences after that.
Yeah.
And that's a really good example of a Curseborne style conspiracy, is that these very powerful people got together, tried to micromanage the world, and then eventually ended up on opposite sides and broke large chunks. It's that same scale for Curseborne, because obviously it's a superhero game, so it's going to have much more big bombastic consequences. But if you lower the scale down, it's the same idea, is that this is a bunch of people who are a mutual aid society working towards a specific goal, and those people can be manipulated and adjusted and killed and replaced, and that will adjust and modify the conspiracy.
Cool. Are there any conspiracy options for Venators, or is that a fate reserved just for the accursed?
I'll let Danielle answer that because she did a lot of the Venator work.
Or you don't have to if you don't want to.
No, you're muted.
You're muted.
Danielle.
Mute.
You're still muted, Danielle.
Muted.
Wait,
There you are.
Zoom was like, if you press the space bar, it'll temporarily unmute you. And I tried to do that, but the Zoom wasn't like
It
right
never
on.
works.
It wasn't the one my mouse was focused on, so it was like, no.
You are talking to us from liminality. Right? You're in
You're in the
red
Black
room.
Lodge.
I'm in the red room.
Black Lodge, yeah.
Yeah. So the Venators, just like they can join, you can have a Venator in your crew. And just like you can have a Venator in your crew, they could join one of your conspiracies. Absolutely. They're just going to have a limited usefulness in what they can do due to their nature.
What they're trusted to do.
Yeah, because
you trust them
the
to do
dirty
exactly, because they have a motivation that is counter to whatever you're doing at all times.
Right. And because Venators are in the player's guide, and one thing that I love about Danielle's section is that this section walks right up to the line, but never explicitly says this. The Venators are accursed, right? Yeah. They use cursed dice, they cast spells, they're accursed. They just choose to opt into becoming accursed and then hunt down other accursed. So they kind of lie to themselves the whole time. That's kind of the dirty secret of the Venators. Right.
And they, by not embracing it, they literally risk they're not as powerful. They don't have as much oomph as the actual accursed, who kind of recognize their own cursed nature. And if they try to deny it all together, they'll just die from it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Are we going to be offering the same special edition treatment for this as for the core, a deluxe book, as it were?
That's a rich question. No?
Probably.
Oh, I was going to say.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
How many tiers of play will there be? Just core and Covenant, or are there plans for any more?
We'll tell you
35.
later.
There'll be 35 of them.
You'll never know our plans.
We're talking about Covenant now. We're not talking about anything else.
I'm
You'll have to wait to see.
Is Covenant going to be around the same page count as core?
That I cannot say because the book is not. We're still in development.
Right.
So,
but word count wise, it's going to be close enough, right? It's going to be a little bit smaller. If I remember correctly, the word count of Curseborne landed on roughly around 200,000 words, and we're shooting for roughly 175,000-ish. So if there is a smaller page count, it's going to be on scale of 20, 30, 40, 50-ish pages. I mean, it's not going to be
not even that much.
Book.
It's not going to be that much.
Right. I'm just saying, it's I'm wildly estimating, but if you put them on the shelf, it's going to look roughly similar spine-wise.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this one and also kind of answer it, and that's if you were saving up for the top tier of the Kickstarter, any idea how much?
I have an answer for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much do you have?
We'll take it.
Because you don't have to just pledge
No.
the amount. Like, it's not a pre-order. It's a crowdfunder. So give us everything.
That said, I think if you look at our past crowdfunders, you'll probably find a pretty easy average.
It'll give an
answer.
indication.
Yeah.
But not confirmation.
Can one use a family structure as a conspiracy, say the vast mercantile arm of the Vodnichi?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, this was something we discussed. One of the writers on the book was particularly keen on doing a Vodnichi focused conspiracy, and that may come out at some point. It isn't something we went on with, but the reason is a simple one. In Curseborne Covenant, we didn't want any conspiracies family exclusive. This doesn't feel like the right place to do a conspiracy where you've got to be a member of one family to have access to it. That is definitely the kind of thing we can explore in later books. Right now, yes, there are definitely solo lineage conspiracies out there, but not solo family. But I would say that the Spawn of Vodnich are one of the ideal ones to go for if you wanted to make a conspiracy of your own, because they have that whole mercantile arm. You could, I'm now racking my brain, but yeah, there's several families that would really work very well in that form. The Faceless, for example, as they are kind of a criminal conspiracy.
Right, and something we don't talk about in this book, but something that is definitely possible, is a family could eventually become a conspiracy, right? Because of the way some families are created, like at some point in time, the line between a family and conspiracy can get pretty blurry. For mechanical reasons, we have to have a clear differentiation to make the game works a certain way. But inside the game world, a group of mercenary criminals looks like a conspiracy from the outside. So like the lines are very blurry inside the world, and as time goes on, that's a space we could theoretically play with if we wanted to, but we're focused on what we're putting right here. What we're putting here is we want to give 15 or more conspiracies that are attractive to a wide group of potential games that pick up this book, rather than just, no one in my game plays this one family, so I can't use this chunk of book.
Right. That makes sense.
So if someone in your game isn't playing Spawn of Vodnik, I would ask why.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Because
they're really cool.
They got lovely big
really cool.
round eyes.
All right, so I'm actually about to catch up on questions of the most recent question. I'm glad I started this early.
Yeah. We've had a lot of questions.
Seriously.
Thank you, Dixie.
Yeah, that was just fun. Any ideas on a cursed having minions in a similar sense to ghouls, wolf-blooded sleepwalkers, etc.? People cursed but not full damnations.
Well, you already can in the form of contacts. So I think that there's nothing limiting contacts to being exclusively human. And to the extent that I know that in Curseborne Covenant there are new tags suggested for contacts scattered throughout the book. And so, yeah, if you wanted to have an animal companion or even an outsider companion, God help you, you could, if you want, or God help your loved ones. The outsider might love you, but he might love eating the other people around you. You can. We haven't mechanized it in a sort of robust fashion, as in this is the system for how you do it, but lore-wise, there's no reason why not, and the contact system is right there to allow it.
Cool. If 5 or 4 minutes left-ish, so get questions in if you want to now. Another one has popped up, which is, do we have any plans for something like an artificer lineage or family, someone who specifically is putting cursed objects out in the world? Matthew?
Well, I mean, the Napoleons kind of already do that in the player's guide.
Right.
I wouldn't say they're putting them in the world. They're finding them, and they're bringing them into the world. They're just not sharing them afterwards.
But they're going for making them.
Right.
Making making relics.
Binding a curse into an object.
I think that kind of... Oh, sorry. If I think about the nature of the Curseborne, right, the making of a cursed item is something that just kind of happens because curses build up around an item or a place or things like that. And so the ability to make something like that, I don't think is at this ability level at the moment. You can certainly
Intentionally, yeah.
You can try.
right intentionally. You can certainly try, and you can maybe do rituals, and you can maybe like help one along if it's already close. But the intentionality of taking an item and getting a specific curse on it to make it a relic or an heirloom, I think at this point it's a little beyond the level of your entanglement.
I can't imagine that being a fun story though. Like you have this old family dagger that maybe isn't cursed.
Yes.
You start like leaving it around haunted houses and things.
Yes.
And being like, come on, do
Drop
it.
it into the wall and leave. Yep.
Absorb it.
The meme of the Pokemon
Work?
stick.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
Cursed.
Come on. get
It's like a
cursed.
plant. You have to talk to it every day, help it grow.
You can do
Water,
it.
flood.
You can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing music. I've got a couple.
Play
more
farty
popping
horns.
up.
That will help you curse it. Yes.
Have you cursed something?
Someone asked in a lore sense what determines a major path for an accursed, like what makes it family over lineage or vice versa. I think it's explained fairly well in the core, but
But your damnation is both mechanics and lore, because it summarizes exactly why your character or how your character is cursed.
yeah.
So a lineage is still, well, broadly speaking, it is exactly what it is described as. You are dead, you're a hungry, you're a primal, and so forth. Whereas a family is a more specified version of that. And lore-wise, I would suggest that if you are primarily lineage, it might indicate that you have not been brought into the fold of your family. Maybe you haven't earned their trust. Maybe they have reason to distrust you, in fact. Maybe you've not made the blood pacts. There's lots of reasons why you might be on lineage, but they're not all bad. You may have chosen to emancipate yourself from your family, as Dixie was talking about yesterday in Curseborne's panel. It's a big found family game. So, yes, you can be an orphan in the player's guide, but if you are a major path lineage sorcerer, that indicates something about a character's relationship with their family. The family's still there. They can't get away from it completely. They still have the Reeves there, or the Archivists, or whomever, but they consider themselves, and therefore are, a sorcerer, not a Reeve, not an Archivist.
I'm going to consider this the last question since we're hitting noon, which is, do you imagine that a really high entanglement in a curse can create a new practice, and as was said in the chat, or new spells?
That would be a book that we're not talking about right now.
But you can create rituals.
Yes.
We know that because it's in Curseborne Covenant.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Curse binding and rituals, definitely.
Yes.
Awesome. Does anybody have any last final thoughts they want to say on Curseborne Covenant? Anything they want to talk about before we get out of here?
Nah.
Covered a lot.
No, yeah, I want to say thank you so much, everybody who has been cheering along Curseborne. Rich was talking in yesterday's panel about how many new customers we get every single day, a new purchase of Curseborne or the player's guide.
And new people showing up on Discord and on our other social media sites that are just really excited to come onto this. Don't know almost anything about us at all as a company, but I've gotten into Curseborne, and that's really wonderful and exciting.
It's very
it's a
exciting for us.
constant buzz.
We'd love
and
to
all
meet
we
you
ask, is please talk about it on social media. Please go over to places like r/RPG and the like on Reddit and talk about Covenant or Curseborne Covenant or just Curseborne, and hype other people up, get other people into the game. It'll mean you'll find more players.
Run it at your local game store. Go have fun.
Yep.
Indeed.
All right. Well, thank everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody on the panel for being here. And we will be back shortly with more panels. Yay!
Yep, Brad Schreider's panel.
Bye.
Ooh, fun.